Hi everyone, thank you for tuning into my video. Please hit the like button below. I'd appreciate that immensely. Today I want to do it's not even going to be a short video, it'll be as long as it is obviously, but I have a lot of things to cover I guess here today. I want to discuss the Nikon N75 35mm film camera. Now the reason that I'm bringing this camera up in this video is I did a video recently on my recommendations, 5 film cameras for those breaking into film photography. Actually, it was 5 35mm film cameras for those breaking into photography. And I mentioned the Nikon N75. I didn't talk much about it. I put the manual in the description below, excuse me, for those who are interested to take a look at it and see if they were interested in the camera. Well, today I'm going to talk a little bit about this camera because I enjoy this camera quite a bit. It's a light camera, small camera, with the right type of lens on here. It's extremely light and it feels like you're carrying nothing. Let me see. Sorry folks, give me a second here. Okay, here, for instance, what did I just grab? Okay, I grabbed my 35 to 70 3.3. I don't know if you can see this. It's a nice lens. It's sharp enough. Colors are nice. It's contrasty. It's a good. This lens is really a sleeper. It goes cheap on eBay. I'm not here to talk about the lens today, but I'm just saying, with this lens mounted to this camera, it's as light as a feather. You could carry this camera all day. The weight is absolutely nothing. Great for street photography if you're into that. That lens on this camera, it's a beautiful matchup. As you can see today. I have the 24 to 120 bulky beast on here. I have a yellow filter on it. I've been shooting black and white photography. I bought 4 rolls of Tri-X. I'm shooting my last roll. I shot my last roll, I'm sorry. I need to send that out. I have the Ilford in here right now, FP4, that I'm shooting exclusively with the 24 to 120 lens. The lens is a beast. It's sharp. It's contrasted, colors are good. It's a nice lens. Some people complain that on their digital at 24 it distorts. I don't find that to be a problem with film photography with this lens. I don't shoot I don't shoot Nikon digital. My digital gear is Pentax. How that happened, don't ask me, because I have so much Nikon gear you'd think I own Nikon digital, but I do not. Actually, back in the day, I had $0. You know, I was on a tight budget, and I landed the K10D, brand new, dirt cheap. So that's the way I went, and that's the way I stayed with digital. Over the years, you know, as I progressed, and you know, more money seemed to roll in. And, you know, I'm doing fine now. I have tons of cameras, but Pentax is just where I stuck, and I will stick that way with digital. But most of my film cameras, 35, not most, but a good portion. I have a giant collection of Nikons, but I do have others like Minolta cameras, Mamiya, Fujica, Ricoh, Chinen, Kodak cameras. Anyways, I digress. I'm here to talk about the N75. I'm sorry, folks. Let's get on to the subject, okay? The N75, as I said, it's a nice camera. It's a light camera. Now, in my review, not in my review, but in my recommendations for 35mm cameras, I mentioned the N75, but I did not speak about it. And today, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove this lens first off, okay? So, the lens mount, okay? It is not metal. It's a plastic or some material. I believe it's a plastic. I'm not sure. I'm not an engineer. I never researched exactly what it's made of, but it is not metal. I'll tell you that right now. But this camera was made in the 90s. It is now 2022. I've owned the camera for the better part of 10 years. I have never had an issue with this mount. All I'll state with the mount is just treat it with respect, like you would any other mount. The camera will last a lifetime. This camera is well over 20 years old. It functions as new. The light meter is dead nuts. It matches up to my hand. I have 2 different handheld meters, and it matches up dead nuts. It hasn't lost a beat. And now I want to speak a little bit on where the camera's made. It's not a Japanese-made camera. I don't know, you probably won't be able to see that in this video because it's in black, but yeah, it's made in Thailand, okay? But so what? The camera build is fine. As I said, if you treat your camera with respect, it'll last you a lifetime. Um, Japan, Thailand, whatever. I mean, Nikon, we're saving a little bit of money, sent off a lot of their consumer cameras towards the end of the film rage out to Thailand to be manufactured. And that's where this one was made. So once again, you can see, I don't know, maybe you can see it made in Thailand, okay? So it's not a Japanese Nikon. Some people may be, oh, you know, I just want a Japanese Nikon. Listen, this camera is fine. I have a blast with it. I use it. I've been using it over the last year quite a bit. I mean, exclusively, actually. I've been shooting with, anytime I went to 35 millimeter film, I was grabbing my N75. And the reason for that, as I already stated, it's light, it's reliable, it functions as new. I have absolutely no issues with it. I was out there in the freezing cold here in Chicago shooting film. The camera never missed a beat. It took every shot I asked it to take without freezing up on me. It just works great. I have a blast with this camera. I get out, I shoot with it. Before I know it, the roll is gone. You know, I'm not a methodical shooter. I do, you know, I frame my shots. I know what I'm going to shoot. I shoot quickly. I've been shooting since I was a kid. I mean, I basically know what I'm going to get back with this camera. Some of my Tri-X images, I'll post right here, you know, a couple of them over on the side here. My style of shooting is mostly landscape, street photography, macro work. I love macro work. And portrait work. I am not, I mean, I will shoot a sporting event if I'm there, you know, and I'm interested. I'll take some photos, but that's not what I concentrate on. And also, you know, I like wildlife. I really do. I don't have the lenses to go out and shoot good wildlife. I have no nice long lenses. So that's what prevents me from shooting wildlife. If I had some nice lenses, if I invested in them, I would use a different body to mount the lens to. I have an f4. I put it on my f4 if I was shooting 35 millimeter, my f4s. But I do not have the long lenses. So that's my style. You know, I shoot some street photography. I'll put a photo over here of some street photography stuff that I do shoot. This camera, I'll show you here. So you can see the dial. I mean, it's easy, you know, when you're setting your modes, you know, just click through them. So you can set them, you know, you're going to have your manual, aperture priority, shutter, and you got your multi-program mode on here. It's auto multi-program mode. You can set that program mode up for yourself. Then it has full auto, full manual. It has your preset program modes on here. You know, you're going to get your portrait, landscape. It's all right there. It's a little too close. Portrait, landscape, sports on here. I never use those modes. I mean, I know what I'm shooting, what I want to capture. I don't rely on program modes. I understand the exposure and the latitude of my film. I pretty much know what I'm going to get when I'm shooting. So those, they're nothing to me. A lot of times, if I'm shooting really quick, I might go in aperture priority. Normally I'm in manual mode with the camera, except for my eyes, you know, no longer what they used to be. So I do like to use the autofocus, which I tend to use on this camera quite often. Just put it in autofocus and let it focus itself. Like I said, my eyes are bad, which brings me to the diopter. This camera does have a diopter. So you could set the diopter, I don't remember the diopter you can set it at. I believe it's goes down to minus 1.5 to plus 8. I believe that's what it is on the diopter. I have it at plus 8, and I can see fine through the viewfinder at plus 8. I take my glasses off and I look there, and I'm good at plus 8. But you can buy other attachments too. I believe it'll go from -5 to +5. The other attachments that they sell that you can put on here if you need them. So if you have bad eyes, you can look right through here. You know, it's nice to have that. You know, your camera have diopters available for you. Another little thing I want to mention I mean, this isn't really, it's really not much of a thing, but your um your LCD screen will light up. I don't know if you can see that. It's lit up green right now. There's a little sun button. You can press it and it'll turn the LCD light on. So at night, or if you're late evening, or dusk, you can't see well the screen, just hit that button and it lights up for you. I mean, that's a nice feature on this camera, that your LCD does light up for you, and it's programmable. You can go into the program mode and have it where it's on all the time, or just on when you hit any button on the camera, it'll turn on for you. You can turn it off if you don't want it on. So that's a nice little feature on the camera. And then right next to that, and I don't know if you can see it, it's hard really to, it's the little sun button right there that'll turn that LCD light on. And right next to that, you have your EV exposure value right there. The exposure value on this camera is it's -3 stops, I believe it is. Plus or minus 3 stops. I'm sorry, in increments of half stop. Yeah, increments of a half stop, plus or minus 3 on the EV. You have your bracketing button here, so you can set your bracketing, and it's plus or minus 2 stops. Same thing. Plus or minus 2 stops, increments of a half stop. That bracket button. Oh, I want to touch on that. That bracket button is also used. You can do multiple exposures on here. So if you're in a multi-exposure, you set it through the bracket here, and you could use your multi-exposure. Look in the manual; it'll be listed below if you want to know more about the multi-exposure. But yeah, you do use that bracket button for multi-exposure. It has its own, you have your own flash built into the camera. I never use a onboard flash. Some people may. I mean, it depends on how you shoot. I mean, I don't use an onboard flash. Well, I cover the EV. Oh, okay. Let's talk about let's stop. Let's talk about the DX coating on here. Your ISO, the film that you decide to use. This is a caveat with this camera for me. This is the only thing I do not really like about this camera, is it automatically reads your DX coated film. Okay, so it'll read film from 25 to 5,000. Okay, anything beyond that, I mean, like if I went to Lomography and bought some of that 13 DX, I don't know if it's, yeah, it might be DX code. I never bought it, so I'm not even sure. So I don't want to state something that's not accurate. But if I tried that black and white 13 speed, or I believe they had the 8 speed, this camera's not going to pick it up. I don't believe it will. Or if it does, or if I do put it in there, and it doesn't recognize the 13 speed or 8 speed, anything that's not DX coded automatically gets read as 100, ISO 100. So I'm afraid that if I did buy like the 8 or the 13 for this camera and I put it in here, it would automatically jump to 100. So I wouldn't be using it at the speed that I may want to, at the slow speed I might want to try. But I do have a ton of other cameras I could load film into. So it's not a major issue for me on this camera. 9 out of 10 times I'm using DX code that is going to be read no problem with the camera. But it is a little caveat for those who might not enjoy not being able to see their ISO. There's no ISO reading of it. Don't even give you a readout that it picked up 200 ISO or 100 ISO. You have no readout of it, no knowledge of it at all. It's just not, it don't exist on this camera. It automatically reads it, and you have to trust it that it read it. And it does. Like I said, the camera functions like a charm. It reads the DX coding properly, and it has never given me a problem. What I do, when I talk about too, is you have long exposure on this camera. You can set with a fresh battery. You could leave it the mirror open for up to 4 hours. So if you're shooting the stars and you're getting the trails, you can leave it open for up to 4 hours with a fresh battery in this camera. So that is available in this camera also. It has the custom settings. I was talking a little bit about the custom settings. Custom settings, you can go in there. The camera will beep like when the timer starts beeping. I mean, you can just turn the beeper completely off in the custom settings. Your bracket exposure, you can set that too. So brackets, instead of starting at minus, going to normal, and then going to plus, you can set so it's at plus, then normal, then minus. So you can set that in your custom settings. You can also set, when you look through the viewfinder, it gives you warnings, like if your battery is low, which you'll get on the LCD screen anyway, but you'll also see it through your viewfinder. You'll see that your battery's low. I like that option because if I'm out shooting, like I said, I shoot quickly, so if I'm in there, I shoot, and I see, oh, the battery's low, I'm going to shoot the shot, I'm going to put in some new batteries. So I like that option, but you can turn the warnings off so those options don't show up and come in your viewfinder if you so choose. That is completely up to you. There are like 9 other options besides those 3. Just look in the manual. You can see everything you can program for yourself on here. Okay, so I'm going to talk about focusing. Okay, we got a thing called dynamic focusing on this camera. That's what they call it, dynamic focusing. So we got dynamic auto focusing with this camera. So I'll put it on the. Let's see if we can see it. So here, yeah, okay, I got it set on there. Okay, that, if you're in autofocus, is going to give you the closest subject priority to your autofocus. So you're in there, it's going to pick up the closest subject and focus on it. And that'll be where the camera will set your focus. If you go down to the next one, you got the center priority, center subject. Okay? And if you go down to the last one, well, come on, click over. Okay, the last one is your dynamic autofocus, which gives you 5 focus points. And I know you're probably not going to be able to see that on there. I'll try to. Oh, my cat is going to be annoying. Yeah, I'm not even seeing it on there right now. It's this right here. It'll show you the points that it is focusing on. So I can click it down. So now I can click it down. Where did it go? I don't even know if it's. Oh yeah, it was moving. I just can't see it on the screen. Yeah, it's very hard to see, but there it is moving around up to the top. Come on. And it's in the center. And you'll see those points in your viewfinder as you're adjusting with the wheel on the back, you know, where you want to set your focus. Well, I'm in manual. If you're in autofocus, I'm sorry. If you're in auto or aperture priority, then those are going to move properly, and it'll just move up. But even in manual mode, it'll read it in this particular setting. It's going to read it in manual mode. But what's going to happen if you're in manual focus? What's going to happen is if you're in manual focus, you're going to get on those 2 top ones. On the 2 top ones, you're going to get center area, and yeah, both those will be center area. The top and the top one, those will read center weighted, and then if you put it on the bottom, you're still going to get the dynamic autofocus mode, even if you're in manual focus. You can pick out your focus spot and dial it in. It's great for portrait work, actually. You know, you get right on the eye, dial it in. So that's really, I think that's really nice with this camera, to tell you the truth. I'll put it back in autofocus. And then, of course, you know, you got your autofocus button here, turn it on and off. I'll put a couple more samples of the photos I've been taking with the Tri-X. I've been using, as I stated, my yellow filter. I have an orange filter I've been using also. The other, and just for the black and white, of course, you know. The other thing I want to mention is the camera infrared remote. So you can set it up for remote remote reading on here. All you do, you set your timer and you twist you got a command dial back here. You twist your command dial and then a little remote figure shows up on there, and you know you're in a remote. And some people complain, oh, it's not reading from I never had a problem with that. I don't stand that far back from my camera to make the remote work. You know, I'm usually never 10 feet off the camera, and the remote fires every single time. I've never had an issue with it, so I don't know, maybe some people are trying to get across the block and fire it. I don't know. But it works as I expect it to work, and I have no complaints with it. So let me see. I talked about everything. Dynamic focus. What have I missed? Did I miss anything? The DX coding. Oh yeah, okay. I guess the last thing I want to talk about is your film advance on here. You know, you have two settings for it. You know, single frame, of course, and continuous shooting. Continuous shooting, this is not made for sporting events, okay? It only shoots 1.5 frames per second in continuous shooting. Single frame, of course, you know, single frame. So yeah, you're not going to use this for birding or shooting a sporting event. Other than that, you know, I'll put up the price of this on eBay. The camera's dirt cheap. I'm sorry this video ran a lot longer than I thought it would, talking about this stuff. I hope you enjoy the video. If you have any questions about this camera, look to the manual below, or you could write me. I can tell you whatever you need to know about it. I use this camera, like I said, I've been using it exclusively as of late, so this is my go-to camera right now. As I said, you know, it's more or less a consumer camera, maybe an intermediate. You know, there are a lot of features on this camera. You know, to call it a consumer camera, I mean, but the Minolta XTSI is loaded with features. This is a consumer camera. But this camera, it's kind of special. For me, I truly enjoy the camera. And the best part about this camera is the price point. You can find these with a lens on here for $60. You can probably buy one without a lens for $35 and grab yourself a Sigma lens for $15. Man, you just have a great setup to getting into film, you know. Great place to start. And then you can see the bad boy with the yellow, my yellow lens on there. Pull out a little detail on my clouds. Works like a charm. And you might see some of those photos up over here. All right, folks, I appreciate it. Please hit that like button. I'll talk to y'all next time. Take care.